Do you have difficulty meditating because you find that it just drives you crazy to try to sit still? Well, in this video, I'm going to give you a counterintuitive strategy for getting past that challenge. Hi, my name is Seth Dellinger. I'm a certified Feldenkrais practitioner and have had a long time daily meditation practice. I love to take a creative approach to embodiment and awareness practice. And if you'd like my individual help, I would love to talk to you. You can check out the link below to get on my calendar. So in this video, we're going to talk about this question of sitting still while you're meditating. And here's a pretty simple idea for you, but I think it's going to be a game changer. There's no such thing as sitting still. Now, if you're scratching your head and wondering what I mean, don't worry. I'm going to lead you through a couple of simple processes so you can feel exactly what I mean in your own body. But here's the simplest way to think about it. If you're breathing, you're moving. So breathe in, fill your lungs with air, your torso makes a particular shape. And then, of course, you breathe out, you empty your lungs, and your chest is going to change shape again. Now, you might say, well, okay, aside from the breathing, but before we move past this, just also understand your chest is changing shape underneath your head. So the way your head is supported is dynamically changing with the breath. And of course, there's everything below your lungs and your chest. And so the shape that changes with your breath, it changes what your pelvis, your legs have to do to support you upright while you're meditating or while you're doing anything else for that matter. So just for a moment, I'm going to ask you to follow your own breathing just for a few cycles of breath. It doesn't matter what position you're sitting in right now, although that's one of the first things I'd like to point out. Your position will change the shape of your breath. So just notice each time you breathe in and you feel that expansion, where is it exactly? Now, some people feel that when they breathe in, there's more expansion in the belly. Others will feel it more in the chest. Of course, you might feel movement in both of those places, but just notice how it is for you. And then notice, and again, maybe you're sitting in a symmetrical position, maybe you're not, but is your breath really kind of making a movement right in the middle, or do you find that there's more expansion a little to one side? It could be also that there is more movement with your breath in the front of your body or in the back of your body. As you know, while you are meditating, your breath is an essential tool for focusing your attention and quieting down your mind and body. However, your breath is also directly related to your balance. And this points to a second reason why the idea of sitting still during meditation can be misleading. So if you now just take that idea totally literally, just try to sit still, totally still, be a statue. If someone is staring at you, they're looking for any little movement, you're not going to let them see it. You are totally still. Now, my question for you is, how are you breathing? Are you breathing? Most people, if they try to stand or sit completely still, it's like, ugh, they freeze, right? And so this is what we don't want to do. Now, I was mentioning a moment ago the relationship of breath and balance, and that's because even if I'm mostly in one place, the fact is we're always slightly off balance. We're always coming a little back to our center, right? It might be forward and back, might be left and right, but there's always a certain kind of sway that's going on. So if you let yourself sway right now, just feel again your breathing, and then again, just for a moment, sit still, right? And notice the change in the tone of your whole body, and what does that do to your breath, right? So the point is, if you kind of deny the fact that you're actually always a little unstable and you don't allow the sway, you try to sit still, that's going to affect your breath. Breath is the main tool that you need in meditation for your focus and calming yourself. And also breath is supposed to move. So if you instead, you just allow some movement like this for a moment, and I'm not saying that this is what your meditation should look like, but you can sway this way and you can make it smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller to the point where if you really pay attention, you might notice, I don't know if you can see me doing it because I'm trying to make it as small as possible, but I'm actually really listening for that little sway. And it shows up in different parts of my body. But just, again, if you sort of don't sit still, but mostly keep yourself in one place, right? Just sort of feel your whole body, feel your breath. And then if you were to move yourself just a tiny amount to the side, right? Probably notice the tone in your neck changes, the way that your weight is connected to the ground underneath you, or if you're sitting in a chair. All these things change in every little degree, right? So even if you're just swaying this much, there's all these tiny things going on. But here's one simple way you can do it. Many people use this practice, in fact, to center themselves at the beginning of meditation. So it's very simple. I'm just going to show you how I do it. I like to use a kneeling posture when I meditate, but this works in any upright position. So you just take your basic starting point and then you shift yourself a little forward and back, and you're moving from the hip joints here. So your whole upper body moving forward and back. And what I'm doing here is after that initial movement that takes me a little off center, now I'm just trying to act like a pendulum and let the movement go smaller and smaller. Then I'm going to go side to side and do the same thing. But something that's really valuable when you do this is to really see how small can I still feel the momentum of that original movement that took me off center. You get to the point where maybe someone looking at you doesn't really realize that you're still shifting back and forth, but you look for the sensation of being more to this side, more to that side. And then you do the same thing just with your head up on top of your spine. Forward and back. Left and right. And you can do this at the start of your meditation. Now, another way of just having fun with this is to combine two different kinds of pendulum movements, one from the hips and one with your head on top of your spine. I just want to throw in one more idea quickly at the end of this video. A really simple image to help you is also the length of your spine. So we all have our habits and tend to slump at times, right? And I'm not suggesting that you make yourself rigid and sit up straight in a kind of a forced way, because that's going to be like that sitting still thing where you end up kind of stopping your breath. But if you just imagine that your head was like a balloon and it could just kind of float upwards, or you see I'm taking a little bit of my hair and lifting up. Just think of this floating upwards and think of length in your spine. And that might be a place where you actually realize that this kind of swaying movement is more possible. And then just to compare, if you sort of allow yourself to slump a little, you feel that you really sink down and your head is kind of compressed down on top of your spine. There's just a sinking, and in your spine, there's less space between the vertebrae, right? You're really sinking down, and this can also lead to a lot of discomfort, but it also makes it harder to move, right? I'm moving here, but I feel really rickety. And if I just allow a little more length, even if I don't have perfect posture, that length, it allows a little more space between the vertebrae. So it's just a nice image to have. And so now I have a long spine. I don't have to sit perfectly still, and I could feel the coming and going of my breath. And I'm moving enough so you can see it, but these ideas can still inform your meditation practice when you are in a state that outwardly to another person would look very much like stillness. But you know from the inside out that you're always doing this tiny little dance. I hope you found this helpful. I encourage you to play with this idea of not sitting still in your meditation. You can begin with the large movements to sort of set the pendulum in motion and then let them die down and get really small, but still stay with that tiny little dance throughout your meditation. I'll be making more videos related to this one soon. So if you enjoyed it, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below, and see you soon.